From the land of 10,000 lakes and just as many heartaches, welcome to the 301 Show. We're here to celebrate, commiserate, and maybe, just maybe, see a Minnesota team win it all. Whether you're dreaming of a Vikings Super Bowl, reliving the glory days of the Twins, or still recovering from the Timberwolves roller coaster, we've got you covered. This is the 301 Show, where the North remembers and the passion never fades.
All right, welcome into episode 41 of the 301 Show. Got a great episode on tap for you today. The Wild have officially begun their regular season. The Vikings are coming out of a bye and have a big debate on who should start at the quarterback position. The Timberwolves are the centerpiece of a GM survey done from around the entire NBA, and the Twins, not a ton of news on the Twins thus far, but I did come up with a quarter century team for the Minnesota Twins like we did with the Wild. All of that and more here on the 301 Show. All right, moving on now to the Wolves' Den. We will start quickly with the Lynx because there's not a ton of news about them right now. But they came out with the way too early odds for the 2026 WNBA title, and the Lynx had the best odds at plus 225. So as of right now, again, the season just ended a couple days ago, the Lynx are the odds-on favorite to win the title in 2026. In terms of the Timberwolves, we've got a couple of different things to go over here. First, Leonard Miller, he had on September 30th, he had suffered a right fifth finger, so a pinky laceration. And he has been cleared for full contact 5v5 basketball activities. So Leonard Miller should be ready to go before the first regular season game. Speaking of the regular season, Kevin Pelton on ESPN has a formula for what he is going to project as his each team's win. What each team's win projections, basically. And right now, the Wolves come in at his with his model. The Wolves come in with a 43.7 projected wins. That is 8th in the Western Conference. I don't think they're going to be 8th. I really think that both of those two numbers are low. If you were to, I don't think they're going to be the number one team in the Western Conference. I still think that OKC is the team to beat in the West. I think, you could make the argument that Houston and Denver specifically are better teams than they are right now. But I think competing with Denver and Houston for the 2 seed is a realistic expectation at this point, in my opinion. So his projections, based off of his whatever formula it is, seem very, very low to me, in my opinion. But then there is also the NBA GM survey where all the GMs, they were asked a bunch of questions, and they put down, it was just open-ended, could vote for anything that fit that category, a team or a player or a coach or whatever fit into that category. You could vote for any of the NBA players, teams, or coaches that fit. So I want to go over the ones that at least the Wolves or a Wolf player got at least one vote for in these, and there's 15 of them. So there's 15 of the categories saw the Wolves or a Wolf come up for that. So, and I will go with I will say where they rank to. So in terms of So there was the NBA title odds. They did not finish in the title odds as the team predicted to win it. It was Denver and OKC were the two Western Conference teams to people thought were going to win it. But the Wolves did finish fourth in the Western Conference behind OKC, Denver, and Houston. Again, I think that is a pretty realistic, between second and like sixth. Basically, just not. I don't think they're going to be a play-in team this year. I think they're going to be above a play-in team. So fourth is right around where I think they're going to end up being. OKC was one, OKC was one, Denver was two, Houston was three, and then the Wolves were four in this survey. Then Ant did receive a vote for MVP. He was in the others receiving votes. He didn't actually make a place. He didn't have a high enough percentage to make a placement. So he was in the others receiving votes for MVP, tied with a bunch of other players. And also was voted the best shooting guard in the NBA. He got 70% of the votes for best shooting guard in the entirety of the NBA. Obviously, there are more than just 30 shooting guards, but if you're the backup on your team, you're not going to be one of the best, likely not going to be one of the best shooting guards at your position. So basically, amongst the 30 starters, Ant was voted number one in shooting guards. Then the Johan Berenger, the 7 foot whatever French center, was tied for fourth in the biggest draft steals for where he was drafted. So that's absolutely fantastic to see. So again, based off of that, is not saying that he is going to be 100% the best rookie drafted, but he could be the best value for where he was picked, which again is fantastic to see. Then Rudy Gobert was on this list a couple times. He was voted tied for second best defensive player in the NBA, just behind Victor Wembanyama. And then also he was in sole possession of second place behind Wemby for best interior defensive player in the NBA. So Rudy still putting up big defensive numbers, being recognized across the entire league. The Wolves as a team were voted as the tied in a tie for second best defensive team in the NBA. Chris Finch was voted as in a tie for second best for the second best coach run offense. So he was in a tie for second. He also was received votes in both categories for best in-game adjustments and best defensive scheme. So he got at least one vote in both of those categories. Then Micah Nori, assistant coach for the Wolves, was voted as the best assistant coach in the NBA. So he very well, I think he is one of those guys that is going to get a head coaching job here at some point, and probably soon. And speaking of guys that may transition into being a head coach, Mike Conley was tied for second for active players that'll make the best coach, behind only Paul George. Or, excuse me, not Paul George, what am I talking? Chris Paul. Behind Chris Paul was one, and then Mike Conley was in a tie for second place. The Wolves were tied for fourth for most fun teams to watch in the NBA, the Wolves being tied for fourth. They also received votes for league's most efficient offense. And I think Ant, being the driver of that offense, has been getting better this offseason. So it'll be very interesting to see where they rank at the beginning of next season when they do this survey. So then Ant was voted the second most athletic player in the entire league. and then Ant and Mike Conley both received votes for best leader on the team. So yeah, those are the categories that Wolves or Wolves players got votes for. So yeah, in terms of predictions, we did not have any come off the board for the Wolves Den. Wolves Den sits at 27 for 89, and that equals out to be 30%. Wolves Den is percentage-wise the lowest percentage of any of the segments, so they have the lowest percentage at 30%. In terms of predictions going on the board here, said Ant drops at least a double-double in the season opener. So if it's a triple-double, this will still count. So it'll be at least a double-double in the season opener. Said that J.J. McCarthy will be spotted at a Wolves game within the first month of the 2025-26 season. So within the first 30 days of this season, J.J. McCarthy will be spotted at a Wolves game. And they usually, when guys go from across sports, they post it on social media. So that will be likely where we see that. So then third and final prediction here is that in the home opener, not the season opener, the home opener, Naz Reid will score 20-plus points in that game. All right, moving on now to the Nordic Report. The 4-2 Eagles come to town to take on the Vikings at US Bank Stadium. That game will be Sunday at noon. The Eagles opened as a 1.5 favorites, and now they have moved to 2.5 point favorites. The over-under in this game is 42.5 points. The Eagles started off 4-0, and they have lost their last two games to the Giants and Broncos. That Giants game taking place on Thursday Night Football of this last week. So the Eagles haven't played since Thursday. The Vikings have not played since 2 Sundays ago. So that the rest advantage you would think would be in favor of the Vikings based off of that, but because they were coming back from London, they were still getting accommodated to the Central Time Zone again. So that seems like, because of that, I would say that is more negligible, I guess, more even between the two teams, the rest advantage. But then the big debate here is the quarterback debate. J.J. McCarthy or Carson Wentz. The debate here being, obviously McCarthy was out with a high ankle sprain that he suffered in the Falcons game in week 2. Carson Wentz came in and has gone 2-1 in the 3 games that he has started since McCarthy's gone out. He hasn't looked super fantastic. I don't think he's looked awful. But to me, it's not 100% like you need to start Carson Wentz. I also don't think it's like 100% you need to start J.J. McCarthy because he looked really good beforehand. I think let's get to this. Tom Pelissero had a couple of quotes here. Sounds like it was in the same interview. But his quote was, "The Vikings quarterback situation is murky to say the least. J.J. McCarthy, I'm told, got good work during the bye week. He should be able to return to practice this week, but McCarthy's still not 100% on that ankle. They got to see his mobility. They got to see how that ankle responds, and they got to make sure he is comfortable and in groove from an operational perspective before they put him back out on the field." So, yeah, 100%. This isn't a debate if McCarthy's not 100% ready. Well, as 100% as he can be, because these high ankle sprains seem to be, like, from when he suffered it, suffered the high ankle sprain, it would be like February of when he's starting to feel 100% again. So that's not really an option. But you can get to a point where it's technically 100%. It's good enough. And if that is your 100%, your new 100%, is he to that point? Is he 100% from that perspective, or it's good enough to be good to go? And if it's not there, you're not starting J.J. McCarthy against the Eagles. But then Pelissero went on to say on Wentz, meanwhile, his backup, McCarthy's backup, Carson Wentz, is dealing with a left shoulder injury, and he could be limited in practice this week. A lot to sort through to figure out who's going to be out there on the field next week against the Eagles. So, yeah, that's the other thing, too, is maybe this isn't a debate, and McCarthy's back ready to go and is good enough to go to play, and Wentz isn't because of the shoulder injury. And then Max Brosmer is listed as the QB, too. But I'm going to come at this from the perspective of they are both ready to go. They are both 100% as they can be ready to go. There's a couple things here that are a massive that make this more of a debate than some Vikings fans would like to think. One, the Eagles still have a good team. Yes, they haven't been playing that well the last couple of weeks, but do you want this team that is going to grind you down and plays physical football? Do you want that team to be the team that McCarthy comes back against off of this injury and only having 2 actual NFL starts under his belt? He's played in a couple preseason games, but 2 real meaningful actual football starts. I don't know if that would be the best option to start him against that team. The only problem is the next week is a short week. It'll play on Thursday Night Football next week against the LA Chargers. And that is also not a great team because they are another team that'll just wear you down and grind you down. And you're also going up against Jim Harbaugh, who was J.J. McCarthy's coach at Michigan. And he knows J.J. McCarthy's tendencies and pitfalls and all of these things. And I'm not 100% sure of which one of those games you start him, because then the next week it's Detroit and then it's Baltimore, which again, maybe Baltimore looks like the best defense to start him against, but that's 3 weeks from now. And I don't want him to be out for 3 more weeks because I want him to start back. I want him to be starting soon again. And this is this injury happening in week 2 was maybe the worst time for it to happen outside of the playoffs, because you can't come back. You're going to have tough teams to come back against, and this window of getting him up to speed and getting him up to speed to be an actual NFL quarterback, that window is now pushed back because he was hurt and he couldn't play for 3 games, 4 weeks. And that window should have been Chicago, Atlanta, which he did play against those 2 teams, but then it should have been Pittsburgh and Cleveland, and I forget now who they played in their other game, Cincinnati. Like, those 3 teams are a lot easier to play than Philadelphia and the Chargers and Detroit. Like, that's a lot easier of a 3-game stretch to be your 3rd, 4th, and 5th game than the 3 that are likely going to be upcoming here. So it's just for his development. And it's not even like, I don't know if it's even a question of like how much success you're going to have this year, because I at this point I think I made 2 preseason schedule predictions before the season started, and I think I had him at 12 wins I think I had him at 12 wins one time and 11 wins the other time. I don't know if they're going to get to 11 or 12 wins. I think they're going to be fighting for 9 or 10 wins at this point. Like they're going to be fighting to get 8, 9, or 10 wins, somewhere in that range at this point. And so, like, I don't think that that's going to lend itself to a deep playoff run. And I just, part of me wonders then too, like, would you rather just try to develop the young quarterback and have this be more of a developmental year, even though you spent a bunch of money on veterans and you traded for Adam Thielen, who's a vet, and you've got all of these guys that are aging out, and on paper, this should have been a year where they actually go out and win it, and even, or at least compete to go win it. And I don't know what the right answer at quarterback is at this point. I do if neither one of them are ready to go. That's a very easy answer. Or not neither one, if one or the other isn't ready to go. That's a very easy answer. But I think at this point, I think I would probably lean towards McCarthy at this point, just because if they're both giving you an equal chance to win, might as well get the young guy more reps and try to develop him a little bit more. So right now, I think it's J.J. McCarthy's ball as start, as long as, again, knock on wood, he is ready to go on Sunday against the Eagles. In terms of predictions, again, we had 0 come off the board this week. With it being a bye week. I think I made a couple of Eagles game predictions last week, so I've got a couple more here. So I'll have a bunch coming off the board next week. Hopefully most, if not all of them, are true. But yeah, these 3 coming on the board this week. First one is that the Vikings defense will allow less than 200 pass yards. I think this is probably the most likely one to come true of these 3. Just with how bad the Eagles' passing game has been. The second prediction here is the Vikings will have 250 plus passing yards themselves. And then the Vikings will cover the 2.5 point spread that we talked about. I'm locking in that 2.5 point Eagles favorites, and they will cover that spread. So those are my 3 predictions coming on the board here for the Nordic Report. All right, now moving on to the Rinkside Rundown. The Wild have played their first 2 games of the season. They are 1-1-0. They have 2 points after those 2 games. They are 4th in the Central Divisions. They are 7th in the Western Conference, so right around where they finished the season last year in both of those categories. In terms of goals for per game, they are 4.5. They have 4.5 goals for per game, which is tied for second. They have 3.5 goals against per game, which is tied for 18th fewest. Shutouts, they have 1 shutout, tied for first. The power play is operating at 45.5%, which is first in the NHL. The penalty kill is 80.0%, which is tied for 15th, so right smack dab in the middle. Face-offs, 25th at 44.8%. Again, picking up right around where they left off last year from the face-off dot. The shots per game is 36.5, which is tied for second. Shots against per game is 29.0, which is 18th fewest in the NHL. The Gus Bus rankings, we go over the starting goalie rankings as well as in addition to the team rankings that I just mentioned on this segment. Gus Bus is 1-1-0. He has played both games in so far this year. His save percentage is .895, which is 24th. He has a 3.03 goals against average, which is tied for 24th. He has 1 shutout, which is tied for first. In those 2 games that the Wild played. They season opener took place in St. Louis. They always seem to have St. Louis's number in the regular season, at least. The Wild did beat the Blues 5-0. Gus Bus went a perfect 26 for 26. Boldy had 1 goal, 2 assists for 3 points. Hartman actually looked pretty good, and he had 2 goals on 4 shots. Kirill had 3 assists, and Joel Eriksson Ek and Marco Rossi both scored in that game. I thought that was a fantastic effort to start the season, again winning 5-0. They just put the right foot forward first, got some momentum on the board early, started the season basically off on the right foot. I thought that, the guy that looked actually pretty good was Yakov Trenin. I didn't think he was going to be that great, but he looked pretty good. My biggest gripe is some of these young guys that are playing down on the 4th line, when I think there's some of those guys should be moved up and just see what you have. Like, I don't think this team is a true Stanley Cup contender this year, but I'd rather play the young guys and get them the experience. So in like next year or the year after, in the next couple years, basically, you are an actual Stanley Cup contender with Kirill Kaprizov leading the way while he's still in his prime. And you've got, potentially 2 goalies that are playing at the top of their game. And I just, it's frustrating sometimes when you see like a Marcus Johansson, who is a vet, getting more playing time than like a Liam Ogren. And I'm not saying Liam Ogren is the perfect player right now, which he's not. He's very clearly not a perfect player right now. But I want to see Liam Ogren. I would rather see Liam Ogren play poorly over 10 minutes than play just meh over like 5 minutes or 6 minutes. Like, I want to see Liam Ogren out there. I want to see him playing out there. The Wild's home opener was against the Blue Jackets on Saturday, and they lost 7-4. I thought the Wilds, at least offensively, played pretty well in that game. They outshot the Blue Jackets 52-32. I think Gus Bus, that was not a great game by Gus Bus. I thought, also thought Elvis Merzlikins played very well for having 52 shots on him. I thought the Columbus goalie, and he went 48-52. That's a very, very good numbers at that point. Kirill Marchenko, again, it was the battle of the Kirills. Kirill Kaprizov and Kirill Marchenko both scored multi-goals in that game. Marchenko had 3 goals on 4 shots. Kirill Kaprizov had 2 goals and 1 assist on 11 shots. And so Kaprizov, again, after signing that massive deal, through 2 games has 2 goals and 4 assists. Zeev Buyum scored his first NHL goal. Again, get the young guys playing. Again, I know at least on the defensive side, Brodin is hurt, and on the offensive side, Matt Zuccarello's still out. So you don't have your full offense and your full defense. Which I love this defensive 6, this defensive core here when Brodin comes back. Absolutely love it. With the 3 young guys, the 3 old guys, quote unquote old guys, but you got the 3 young guys with, I'm stretching it a little bit because I don't know if you can fully call Faber a young guy anymore, because this is his 3rd full season in the league. But you got Faber, Buyum, and David Juracek as the 3 young guys, and then the 3 older guys. You got Middleton, Spurgeon, and Spurgeon and Brodin. I love that. Put a young guy with an old guy on all 3 defensive pairs. And Brodin and Faber, when Brodin's healthy, he plays. Those 2 together play well, super well together. So put those 2 together, put Spurgeon and Buyum together to have the captain leadership with the guy that's the younger, raw talent in Bouillon, and then put Middleton and Juracek down on the bottom pair. That's how I would do it if I was John Hines. Now, my question is, how much does John Hines, how much control of the lineup card does John Hines have? Or is it coming from up above? Matt Boldy in that game against the Blue Jackets, is, again, those two together, Boldy and Kaprizov, are playing unbelievably together. As Boldy had another goal and 2 more assists in that game against the Blue Jackets. So he now has 2 goals and 4 assists as well. He had 5 shots in that game against the Blue Jackets. I think he's playing really well. I think you need to rely on these younger guys to carry your team at this point. The Wild here have 4 games this upcoming week. They have 1 home game, which if you're watching this on the day that I am recording it, they play tonight, Monday at 7 p.m. on October 13th. They then go to Dallas tomorrow night on Tuesday, October 14th at 8:30 p.m. That is a nationally televised game. They play the Dallas Stars. Then they travel to the nation's capital to play the Washington Capitals at 6 p.m. on Friday, October 17th. Then they travel to Philly on Saturday, October 18th, to play the Flyers at 6 p.m. So it is very much a Philly versus Minnesota weekend, with the Flyers versus the Wild, and then the Eagles versus the Vikings. So of those 4, I want to see what these. I also want to see the coaching staff reward the young players if they're playing well. Like I want to see that happen. And I understand too. Like the coaching staff is like, well, we're coaching and making a lineup card for our jobs, and I understand too. Like, this is a league that guys get fired. Like, it's just a fact that guys get fired. But as a fan, I want to see this team win a Stanley Cup, and I don't think it's there right now. I don't think this team is there right now. I think this is probably a bubble playoff team. I think they're going to probably get a wild card spot. I think I have a prediction on the board right now that says they will not get a divisional spot. So I think they're going to I think they will end up as the 7 or 8 seed in the Western Conference. I did think they played Vegas great in the playoffs, obviously last year, but they still lost. They still lost to the Vegas Golden Knights in the playoffs. And ultimately, they played them well, but it wasn't good enough. And I don't think they made 100% the necessary improvements this offseason to make that, to flip that to a 7-game series win or a 6-game series win over the Vegas Golden Knights. I don't. So we'll see how, and again, maybe I'm overreacting to the 7-4 Blue Jackets loss, and maybe they just wanted to get the younger guys 2 games, just getting their legs under them a little bit. But I hope I'm overreacting to it, and it's just me overreacting, and they do these things, they make these changes that I'm suggesting throughout the season. So hopefully we'll continue to cover it as the season goes on. But yeah, as for the Frost, there's no new news on the Frost at this point in the off season. Their season starts in the middle or end of November, I believe. So it is coming up relatively quick, but still no new news on them right now. In terms of predictions, I had 5 predictions come off the board. 3 of them were incorrect. 2 of them were correct. I said that the Wild will part ways with Ryan Hartman this offseason. They did not. Again, he has actually been playing very well. I don't think he's a top-line center, but he has been playing very well this year. So I got to, again, 2 games in. We'll see if he can keep it up this entire season. But I hope he keeps it up. But, we'll see. I said the Frost and the Wild will both win their respective home openers. The Wild did not hold up their end of the bargain on that, so it doesn't matter if the Frost win their home opener or not. And then the final prediction is that the Wild will beat the Blue Jackets, and that was incorrect. The two predictions I did get right, I said Philip Gustafsson records a shutout in October of 2025. That was correct. The first game of the season, he got that I got the correct prediction there and through the first game, just in the first game of the season. And I said the Wild will beat the Blues. So both those being correct in the same game. That then brings my total correct to 23 out of 73 for 32%. Three coming on the board here. Said the Wild will get at least 5 points in the next 4 games. In the Kings, Stars, Caps, and Flyers games, they will get 5 points out of the at least 5 out of the possible 8 that they can get. Said that Kirill Kaprizov will score 3 goals in the next 4 games. At least, I didn't write this, but I said at least 3 goals. I mean at least 3 goals in the next 4 games. And Jesper Wallstedt will win his first start of this season. So whenever his first start is, he will win it. All right, moving on to the final team segment here of episode 41. Like I said in the beginning, we've got the Twins quarter century team. Again, the qualifications here are they have to have played at least one year in the 20th or 21st century, with the Twins. So again, if they were on the Twins in the 90s, but then got traded from the Twins or signed with another team before the turn of the century, they do not count towards this exercise. We will start here with the pitching side. I've got it separated into the starting rotation and the bullpen. So these are the here is the rotation and the bullpen. The starting rotation goes Johan Santana, Francisco Liriano, Brad Radke, Sonny Gray, and Pablo Lopez. Again, I think Johan Santana being the best pitcher on the from the Twins in the quarter century here. Liriano, again, fantastic rookie season. He was very, very good. Brad Radke had some solid years. I put Sonny Gray and Pablo Lopez in there because when that year the playoff win year, they both had fantastic years that season. Then the bullpen, these first couple guys I just have in the bullpen, and then I've got the last 2 as setup and closer guys. So I have Eddie Guardado, Glenn Perkins, Ryan Presley, Caleb Thielbar, and LaTroy Hawkins as just bullpen arms. And then the setup guy coming out in the 8th inning to set up for the closer is Johan Duran. So we'll get the entrance in the 8th inning. And then the closer, again, I think he's by far and away the best Twins closer of the turn of the century. I've got Joe Nathan as the closer for this team. We will get the hitters pulled up here. I've got the actual batting order, and then I've got some bench players too. So I've got the starters in their batting order and what position they're playing to, and then the bench players as well. So pulling up here, also a manager being Ron Gardenhire. I think Tom Kelly was probably the best manager in Twins history, but he retired before the turn of the century. So Ron Gardenhire is my manager of this quarter century team. In terms of the batting order, I've got Byron Buxton leading off out in right field. And for the outfielders, I'm realizing I messed it up a little bit here, but for the outfielders, I have just put them in any of the outfield positions. So Byron Buxton is out in right, leading off. Torrey Hunter is batting second in center field. Joe Mauer batting third behind the dish. I've got Nelson Cruz at DH, just pure power hitter. He will be the DH of this team. Justin Morneau playing first base. I think he is, definitely a top 3 first baseman for the Twins. It's either him. I think him or him or Herbeck are battling for number 2 behind Killebrew. So obviously with both of those guys playing before the turn of the century, it has to be Justin Morneau at first base. Corey Koski at third, batting 6th. He just got inducted in the Twins Hall of Fame, so he is my third baseman. At shortstop, batting 7th, I've got Christian Gonzalez. Batting 8th, Brian Dozier at second base. Again, he hit 40 home runs, and I believe it was 2015. And then this is where I messed up on my graphic, but in my notes here, I've got Denard Span batting 9th and in left field. It says center field, but he is in left. Torrey Hunter will be playing center field. On the bench, I've got backup catcher Mike Redmond, Luis Arraez as the infield utility guy. I've got Miguel Sano as the corner infielder / DH power hitter backup guy. And then Michael Kadire as the backup outfielder, with Eddie Rosario as the kind of speed pinch runner and kind of also utility outfielder as well. So that is my team here. Again, in terms of the batting order, it's Buxton, Hunter, Mauer, Cruz, Morneau, Koski, Gonzalez, Dozier, and Span. The bench is Mike Redmond, Luis Arraez, Miguel Sano, Michael Kadire, and Eddie Rosario. Again, those guys are in no particular order. They're just the 5 coming off of the bench. Pitching side, again, I'm not going to pull up the graphic again, but the pitching side, the starters are Johan Santana, Brad Radke, Sonny Gray, Pablo Lopez, and Francisco Liriano. The relief pitchers, Eddie Guardado, Glenn Perkins, Ryan Presley, Caleb Thielbar, LaTroy Hawkins. Setup guy is Johan Duran, and the closer is Joe Nathan. The predictions here, though, didn't have any come off the board, but we've got a couple going on the board. I said the Twins will win the season opener in 2026. They will win the home opener in 2026. Those are 2 separate games. They start on the road and then come home, so they will win those 2 games. And then whoever the Twins manager is, they will get tossed at least 3 times in 2026. All right, final segment here today is the power ranking segment. Again, if you're new here, the power ranking segment is a fun segment we do at the end of every episode. It's we take a topic from Minnesota sports and we rank the top 10 in that topic, whatever it is. We've done a bunch before, and we can. I do take suggestions on what topics you want me to rank. So please leave those down in the comments down below. You can also email the show. It's frozennorth30@gmail.com. I will read those and do my best to get those out in a timely fashion. Please try to keep it family friendly. I won't be doing topics that aren't family friendly, and we will keep them to sports topics too. So this week we have the top 10 mascots in Minnesota sports. So again, any level, could be majors, minor leagues, the high school, college, whatever. So the top 10 mascots in Minnesota sports. Coming in here at number 10 is the Duluth East Greyhound, and he makes the number 10 spot because of how creepy he looks. Please go look up a picture of the Duluth East Greyhound mascot if you have not, because his neck is very long. Coming in at number 9 here is PK Loon, the Loons, the soccer team's mascot here in Minnesota. Number 8 is Prowl, the Lynx mascot. Just thought that she was a little bit too close to Crunch, so I ranked her at number 8. Number 7, the one that probably makes the least amount of sense on this list for the mascot to the actual team name, is TC Bear. Again, that is why I have him ranked so low, is because a bear doesn't really make a ton of sense to have as a Twins mascot. But yeah, he comes in at number 7. At number 6 here, we will go over to Nordy at the XL Energy Center with the Wild. Again, fantastic. I do like Nordy as a mascot. Fantastic set of hair. He's got a mullet. But again, it's just known as a wild animal, so not super creative. I guess it is kind of creative, but just very straight up. So we get to the point where a lot of them make sense. It's just more just how they act is what's determining them at this point. But we will go on to the top 5 as we have I'll recap the 10 here. Those 10, number 10 is the Duluth East Greyhound. 9 is the PK Loon. 8 is Prowl. 7 is TC Bear. And number 6 is Nordy. The top 5 here coming up. Top 10 mascots in Minnesota. At number 5, we have Crunch. Again, super freak athlete, is doing a bunch of dunks and flips. So, yeah, he comes in at number 5. I thought he does more than Nordy does in that aspect. Number 4 here, I personally just like Victor the Viking a little bit more than Crunch, so he comes in at number 4. Number 3, because I think that she is just an amazing mascot and deserves the entire world. Number 3 is Madonna. You might be thinking, who is Madonna? That is the pig mascot at the St. Paul Saints. That is the St. Paul Saints mascot. She is a pig. She wears a Saints jersey and a skirt. Absolutely fantastic mascot. Number 2, I think, again, makes a ton of sense, but just does a lot more here than these other mascots. A lot of people might think that this should be number 1, but at number 2 is Goldie Gopher. Again, he spins his head, does push-ups at Vikings games, can skate around the ice at hockey games. But yeah, Goldie Gopher coming in at number 2. At number 1, we've got the only retired mascot on this list. It's Ragnar, the old Viking fan that used to dress up. Not really a mascot, but I will put him at number 1. Number 1 being Ragnar, the old Viking fan that would dress up and ride his motorcycle out onto the field. All right, that'll do it for this episode of the 301 Show, episode 41. Again, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching this late into the episode. Leave a like down below. It really helps me out. Subscribe to the channel. And yeah, we will see you next time for episode 42.